Yeah.
Van Glorious Vanguard.
Knowledge born.
Yeah.
United Front.
Tell it.
What you want.
To the Knowledge Radio.
We in here. What you got? Dot.
Work hard as a slave to one day be your savior. The wave unwavering. This is a labor of love. Rise with a purpose every day. Invigorated. If we were on TV, we'd be 10 times syndicated. If we waited for validation, a paycheck or accolades, we'd be starved, already lost or ran away. But when you're square, solid, and your circle too, you don't need a place for silence. The concept is conquered through media, not areas of people activity. A mix that don't lose ethnicity, tightness that don't lose elasticity. Explicitly, this isn't where we give the novice regard. Nah, this is where knowledge is born. Last time that I checked, I'm undefeated. Deliver edicts, can't resist when the gods build and manifest freedom. When lines get crossed, they may push a loss, cause they get handed a check. We kick the can and cancel your cancerous gestures. A prophet vision, precision, the prescription for the sickness is to inoculate your fate with the winning. Arrogant beginnings turn to humble endings. And US with KBA is a win-win. 1K.
Peace and Black Power, family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio. Place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born a Lot, and I'm extremely honored at this particular moment, just coming off of this Whirlwind Conference. One event left, 3 days, Friday through Sunday. And if y'all see this gear right here, if y'all see the designs, if y'all saw the video that y'all seen, over almost this last year or so, floating around with this magnificent intro, this design, all of these things come from this creative warrior goddess mastermind who is Renee Black, graphic CEO. So we're going to get a moment right here to welcome to the platform. It's been a little while, not too long, but it's been a little while since we have been on the same stage together. So without any further ado, let's welcome to the platform the mastermind, the creative genius, this hardline warrior sister who doesn't take no ish from nobody. Let's bring in our sister, Renee Black, aka Miss Legit. Okay.
Hey, peace, knowledge. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for that intro. Like, that was amazing. I'm over here grinning. Thank you. Over here cheesing. Thank you.
Got to give credit.
Yeah, definitely.
So how you been though? I ain't talked to you since before all of the chaos and the confusion and all. We done text and collaborated and all kind of stuff. But in the midst of everything that's been going on, how you been?
Yeah. I've been all right. I think just like a lot of people, just trying to navigate through all of this craziness going on and just, taking it day by day, honestly. That's all we really can do. But so yeah, just been maintaining, I would say. Trying to maintain.
That's what's up. Black Power to Psycho. Psycho, you welcome. If you want to give Psycho the link, he can hop on too.
Okay.
Yeah. Because this was definitely sparked by y'all's show recently in regards to ADOS and reparations, and I was like, man, I wish I could have got on this panel. So I'm thankful that y'all put forth y'all show, because that's y'all lane totally. You know what I'm saying? I wish y'all was on the ticket somewhere we could vote for. That'd be a vote worth voting for. You understand what I'm saying? Since we got all of these stooges and fakes and snakes and all of that, you see what I'm saying, running around, stooging and buffooning and all of that other stuff. you know. But
Mm-hmm.
they have funding behind them, and this is why they talk the way they talk. But yeah, I definitely want to deal with that. So, if you send a link to Psycho, feel free. I just want to have a
Okay.
brief conversation with y'all about, this right here, because y'all made some very, very interesting points. And as always, y'all always on point in regards to what y'all bring forth to the people. So,
Thank you. That's appreciated. Yeah, we just mainly try to just keep it above. I mean, honestly, we're just more, community minded, thinking in terms of Black people as a whole. So, that's really
right.
important. So I think we try to just stay true to that as much as possible.
And my brother back to love over here. Look, they don't talk about. It's like a
I
family reunion
know.
over here. You know what I'm
Shout
saying?
out
I'm
to
like,
Psycho and Back to Love. Thank y'all for
right.
coming out.
I think
Appreciate
this was an amazing opportunity that they tried to slide to see if they could slide another one past us. They've been sliding a lot of stuff here lately. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not paying attention, we'll get excited. I saw some knee-jerk responses from some people, and just like some outright craziness. As predicted with everything that's going on. So, like the position of ADOS, I say African descendants, of slavery. And I identify as you do as a Pan-African, in regards to all of this. So, I heard the statements from Akon and some of the other people, because this is very, very telling and very, very revealing for a lot of people as these things are coming out, because everybody was like, yo, 2020 hindsight, 2020 division, and you're seeing a lot of suckers out here. You see what I'm saying? You're seeing a lot of suckers in regards to a lot that's going on, and these are the stances. So people are coming out based off of who finances them or who they are afraid of. So these are where people are coming from. So if you take, somebody like Akon, they're like, oh, Akon is lighting up Africa. No, the Chinese are lighting up Africa. Akon is their face.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So when you look at that, and then you fast forward to who has these interests in regards to Africa, you see how these things are being pushed. So it went from lighting up Africa to, coming in and taking what's out of the ground. So it looks like a light, but it's really darkness. So
Right.
America, along with the Asian world and the Arab world and the rest of the world, are fighting for Africa, just like that mad Dash for Africa during the Berlin Conference, where they carved it up. Because whoever controls Africa controls the world. This is where 82% of the goods comes from. So,
that's right.
With this type of ideology, they'll sneak things in wherever they can, and if you look at the entertainment industry, because that plays a major factor in regards to, it used to be economic destabilization, but as Dr. Francis Cress Wilson spoke of us with the 9 areas of people activity, the 3 E's are first: economics, entertainment, and education. Right. So the entertainment industry was something that wasn't used so much. But when you look at this right of return and what happened in regards to that last year, who did you see the bulk of? Entertainers. And
entertainers, right.
Afrochella, all these things. None of this, that's why I love y'all, because y'all don't put stuff separate. It's like, oh, that's math class, that's science class, that's language arts. This whole thing streams along in regards to the whole situation, because all of these things are very relevant to our experience. And if you're trying to figure out, Dr. Wilson used to say, people are running around like, what's going on? What's going on? You understand what I'm saying? Her work becomes so key and foundational understanding of what's really happening versus what's going on. Because what's going on is topical versus what's happening. What's happening is another situation. So I definitely wanted to speak to that, real quick, and give you the floor if you wanted to add some remarks.
Yeah. I think, one of the things about, like, when you said about people being, paid for and things like that, that's one of the things that comes along with this, the type of system that we're in, dealing with money, dealing with capitalism or whatnot. Basically anybody can be paid for, anybody can be bought and sold. I ain't gonna say anybody, but most people. Let's just be honest about that. And so then you become, a slave to that. You become a slave to the money. You become a slave to whomever is affording your life. And then that you can't cross certain boundaries. So, and then that you have to say certain things and you have to move a certain way. And that's one of the reasons I don't understand why our community prioritizes entertainers so much. Because at the end of the day, we know who runs that entire system. Like you said, our great ancestor, Dr. Welsing, broke down as one of the 9 areas of people activity in terms of entertainment. And for some reason, we continue to place celebrities and entertainers, athletes, or whatnot on this pedestal. And at the end of the day, is somebody signing their check too. And so we don't tend to look at that as much as we should. And like you said, the whole year of the return and the pushing of like a lot of these celebrities, you saw them going and, oh, we going back to our roots and that type of thing, but it's so inauthentic. You know what I'm saying? It's so disingenuous, the way in which a lot of this is really, really being done. So, and like you said, we tend not to separate things because it all does go together. It all goes hand in hand. One feeds the other. And so you really can't separate it. And people do run around like, what's going on? You know what's going on. And it's kind of funny because I hear the same types of rhetoric all the time. And even if you do the history on what has happened to Black people, in this country per se, you see the same type of thing back then as now. You had people who were saying, oh my gosh, what's happening? The same thing has been happening. The very same thing by the very same people. And, things get shuffled around a little bit. I always give the analogy about the system of racism, white supremacy as being a computer. It is just upgraded, just like how a computer has to be upgraded. Your phone constantly has upgrades to it. That's what happens. It gets better, faster, stronger, more efficient, more effective in the way that it's done. And it becomes more streamlined. And so, when you have situations like, what happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery or just different things going on, and then people act so brand new, it's like what's new here? Like, it's the same thing that's been happening. It's just, it, and I can't even say it's not as prevalent as maybe it once was, because it still is. It's just kind of like I said, the method and the way that it's done is a little bit more covert at times. And, social media has helped to kind of expose a little bit more. But other than that, it's pretty much the same type of situation. We're still under a system of white supremacy. We're still under a system of where everybody basically can be bought and sold. People will do anything for the bag. People will do anything for a coin at the end of the day. And unfortunately, these are the things that wedge in between us and actual revolution, that wedge between us and having more unification with the Africans who really do want to, have our back. This draws a wedge between a more Pan-Africanist ideal where everybody is kind of on the same page, because you got people who want to come here because they see economic benefit and they're not beholden to Black people. They're not beholden to Blackness. They're not beholden to Africanness. They're beholden to money. So you have all of these things that are able to be used as wedges between us and ultimate revolution, an ultimate goal with each other. But yeah, it's they definitely use celebrities. They definitely use entertainment. Yeah, all of that you said was on point.
Now, something that I have to agree real strongly with you and Psycho was about the relationship between the continent and the diaspora, specifically us in the Americas, us in the United States, more specific. Because that brings apart another type of situation. I'll just give you an example. Since the 1700s, Black people have been going back to Africa. So, migration is not a new situation. You know, um, if you look at Sierra Leone, if you look at Liberia, any of those places, like Sierra Leone would be like the hub in regards to that. And then you start looking at all of these other places in regards to repatriation, the relationships over time have been strained greatly and vastly. But by and large, the relationship is very strained. And as we add in these other factors in regards to a term like right of return, we really evaluate and be wise to the deception. There's always deception in regards to it. Certain places wouldn't be marketing, a situation of a welcome home if there wasn't some or if there wasn't some kind of need or benefit that comes along with it. So we have to pay attention and truly really be wise. And as much as that is against my soul and my spirit, because y'all know I'm really an African. I'm not a blind one. And these kinds of situations really prove it. When you speak to people, behind the scenes about their trials and their tribulations, um, we have a long-standing history of repatriation. So thoughts on that, because that was one of the dead ringers where I was like, yo, because the history is very, very abundant in regards to the symbiote. Africans fighting against enslavers and things like that on one side. West Africa is free because of what happened in 57 to 70. This is why we have political prisoners. This is why we have people in exile and people in caskets. They were fighting for the liberation of Africa. So if you look at that time frame and you look at the 90s in regards to South Africa, it's crazy in regards to that relationship of fighting apartheid. So if you look at 68 in specific, Kwame Nkrumah became Kwame Nkrumah because of his relationship to Black people here in the Americas, coming to the United States to study in college. Him, Amir Cabral, and some other people linked up and said, we're going to go back and free our countries, because they saw the symbiote struggle of Black people here in the Americas. So, we got to kind of look at that and have that understanding. So the finance, the weapons, all kinds of stuff was there. So just as much as we have a relationship with the continent in regards to, brothers and sisters coming to places like the Caribbean and fighting, we have just as much relationship in regards to the continent with us actually freeing the land and putting the politics and control back into African hands, only to be, ousted and uprooted by colonialist and neo-colonialist power. This was a main thing that he was fighting against. So if y'all want to book for a source, Handbook Revolutionary States extensively, and he was exiled out of his country, which is now Ghana, and sent to Congaree, New Guinea over there. So that's a significant regards. If you look at Stokely Carmichael as it relates to, Kwame Ture and his move and his push for Pan-Africanism, one of the shining beacons, of that particular time in regards to, uh, ascending, rising to Pan-African revolutionary heights. So there's relationships that are there that are strained, and there's some double talk in regards to the inconsistencies and being incongruent about our real relationship. And we're the only people that can actually be talking about it. There's nobody else that can really be talking about it. So if we see it and it goes to the virtual screen, the silver screen, so to speak, again, entertainment again, economics again, education again, those first three on that rung, because we learn visually. So you see a situation, and there's a couple other things I wanted to say about that I'm really not feeling, but I'll just leave it right there for your thoughts.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, I think there has always been a desire from I won't say a significant. I'll say a significant amount of Black people. There's been, and I mean over time historically, for some Black people who have wanted to repatriate. I think there's been a desire, especially and particularly Black people who tend to delve into our history. They begin to learn a little bit more because there's such a disconnect with who we are. There's such a disconnect from where we came from and our roots and any real knowledge of that. And so I think the more that you learn and grow in your Africanness, as far as being quote unquote Black people or African Americans or whatnot, you kind of start to wonder. You gain a larger interest in Africa, in West Africa particularly. And you may have a desire to quote return there or to visit or those types of things. And of course you had brothers and sisters historically who were doing that. You had, Liberia, you have all of the things still that may be going on right now, but it has become commercialized. It has become about economic gain in a lot of ways, like with the year of return and things like that. And I think sometimes some American Black people, if you will, feel that we won't be received well by West Africans. Some people feel West Africans haven't actually really fought for us because, like you said, in terms of entertainment and all of that, some of the imagery that we're shown and things like that, it doesn't come across that they really are looking to really connect with us. So there's absolutely a disconnect. I think that disconnect has definitely grown much more dramatically, of course, from the time of people like Marcus Garvey, who that's what his whole goal was Africa for Africans. And as time went on, you had a lot of people out of the Black Revolutionary Movement, like you talked about, that ended up trying to go back, that did try to fight for power over there and try to establish a base over there. And so you've had different things that were done. I just think over time that distance has been able to grow more, and there's a lot of disruption and upheaval that's happened, like you said. And the fact that we know that is documented, that it was a goal to prevent the coalition of, Black Americans with Africans, that was a concerted effort to prevent that from happening. And I think, they've done a really good job at that, because in terms of now, in general, there's not that much of a connection with a lot of people. Now, like I said, you have a lot of Black folk who have a little bit more historical knowledge, and they yearn for more. They yearn for that connection. But I think on the flip side, what a lot of Black people see is that a lot of West Africans may yearn for the American economic connection versus them yearning for the actual connection based upon us all coming from an African background, based upon what happened to us so many ages ago, where our ancestors were, kidnapped. So it's just really, it is right now, it's kind of all jumbled up. And then when you have people like Akon, who's been one of the biggest, music acts that's come out of West Africa, that's really blown up and was widely garnered here, widely accepted. And to have people like that kind of say some of the things that he said, that, they've moved past it. Like, they've moved past slavery. They don't concern themselves with that. We need to just get over it. That type of mentality, and not that he speaks for, and I want to be clear, not that he speaks for all West Africans or all Senegalese people, not that he does, but I think that sentiment is there in some respect from some people. And some Black people here feel that that's the sentiment overall, which is wrong. Like I said, everyone doesn't feel like that. But so it's just, right now, we got to kind of really get down to it and stop letting the commercialization of Africa get in the way of things. We have to find some common ground on a sense of our roots and do as much as we can to build off of that, because like I said, they're to destroy our connection from Black people here to the continent. I'm sorry, people out here on these four-wheel things, but anyway, there's always been an attempt to destroy that connection between the two. And it's so very necessary, but we have to do more to try to understand each other and not let the silver screen, not let all of the other stuff really get in the way of that. But, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
I agree wholeheartedly. I just want us to be, kind of wise to a lot of the deception that's going on, and we don't get caught in it. I want to talk reparations with you, because we go to this next rung right there, labor law and politics. Right, we're from education, economics, and entertainment to labor law and politics, and now we're looking at this particular landscape on the horizon in regards to the only conversation from my vantage point that should be had with anybody about anything is reparation. I want to hear your thoughts in regards to that and how these certain conversations are green lights into the kind of mind that we're dealing with and against. Again, another statement, Akon was talking about was like, in getting over it, that's what that means also. So now we have infiltrators and interlopers, with hot sauce in their bag. You understand what I'm saying? A darker hue of devil and devil advocate all together with hot sauce in their bag. All of a sudden they smoke weed in college and listen to Tupac and Snoop Dogg. You see what I'm saying? Right. Now they're further. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. Further saying Black people don't know what blackness is, and if they don't know what blackness is, this non-Black enemy of us is supposed to say to us, "Hey, I don't have time to tell them."
Right, absolutely. And by the way,
so Tupac, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, and Tupac wasn't even out. She got caught out there with that one. Because when she was in college, Tupac wasn't even out. Like, she graduated, it was still in the 80s or something. So, I mean, he wasn't the Tupac. He wasn't out like that. But, so the thing about it is, you hit on so many points right there. For instance, with Akon saying that get over it thing, which is white supremacist rhetoric, like, let's be really clear on where that comes from. But that get over it thing, that really does speak to, well, just let reparations go, let it go that you're owed anything, right? That this whole structure, this whole country was built off of you and built off of the money through the transatlantic slave trade and through slave labor. But let all of that go. Just get over it. Just move on. And like I said, that's white supremacist rhetoric that we've been fed for a very, very long time. I mean, these are things that they've constantly told Black people in this country. Yet, you know, when you look at other things like the Holocaust, et cetera, and even 9/11, their motto is never forget. So everyone else, it's okay for them to remember, right? It's okay for us to remember 9/11, which was one incident that happened, but an atrocity that happened for hundreds of years with the raping, the pillaging, the disrespect, the destruction of Black people, and the continuation of that after slavery through Jim Crow. Well, just forget about all of that. So, you know, we've constantly been told that. So then to hear, you know, this Black man from a country that many of us have roots all the way back in, for him to say that, wow, you know, wow, that's really heavy. And also, like you said, with the whole Kamala thing, is that if you're having people like that represent Blackness, that is an absolute disservice to reparations. Because for one, if we're going to qualify her as a Black woman, she has no roots here in this country. She was born here, yes, but in terms of ADOS, in terms of, as you say, African, but in terms of African, or if you want to say American descendants of slavery, in terms of that, she has zero connection. And so now you have these people representing Blackness. So these people in high places, and then you have a movement that's like, hey, we need reparations for the people who were the descendants of slaves and the legacy that slavery has had on us, and all of the disruption that has happened, all of the economic progress that white people have benefited from. Hey, we need to acknowledge that, we need to deal with that. Well, you got Barack Obama, who was president, who has absolutely zero connection to ADOS. Okay, his wife does, but he does not. Okay, you have Kamala, who's now, run before for president, or is trying to run for president, but now is the VP candidate. And so, so you have people in positions of power and influence. Even if you talk about people like Eric Holder, he has no ADOS roots. So you consistently have quote unquote Black people who make it, and I say that in quotation, okay, who make it to a certain level, and they have zero connection to ADOS. So therefore, that understanding, that ability for what we go through to resonate with them, it doesn't work in the same way that it does with Black people who may actually have real roots here. And even in the case of, you might have somebody, you have somebody like a Clarence Thomas, but we already know where his politics lie. We already know what he's dealing with. So even though he's ADOS, he's not upholding anything, and he has a Supreme Court position. So it's just like, and that's the only real way you will get to those levels is, number one, typically you cannot be ADOS. Typically, your Blackness has to be some other type of Blackness to qualify. Or you have to have given such a legacy of coonery that's so strong that they know there's absolutely no chance that you would ever uphold anything about reparations and recognition of what ADOS people have gone through, which is in the case of Clarence Thomas. So you have a lot of things, a lot of undoing, going on, because let's be clear, whatever people want to say about Tone and Yvette, who are the, creators of ADOS and of the hashtag and what all of that represents. The one thing they did do is push it to the point to where the Democratic candidates had to, at the very least, address reparations. And they gave us a chance to really understand what was going on. Even though we knew everybody would be against it, we had to really make them say it. They had to really at least come out of their mouth and say, even though they tap dance around, no, I'm not for reparations. So at the very least, the hashtag, the movement has done that. But even in that sense, now that you have Kamala in the position that she's in, we already know what it is. And she has no duty to do so because she's not even connected with us in that way. Even the part of her that is Black, whatever part that may be, I don't know if that's half or if that's a fourth or whatever, but whatever part of her that is Black is not us. It's not us in this movement. And again, I have a Pan-Africanist mindset overall, but this particular movement has to be very specific. And it has to be very specific because we are talking about economics here. And we're talking about what America has been able to build and establish off the backs of our ancestors and the continuation of that. And with America being one of the most prosperous nations in this world, if not the most prosperous, as it's put or whatnot, being an economic superpower, being a military superpower, and all of these things that have become possible was built off of us. Let's keep it a buck. So it has to be very specific. The movement has to be well defined if you want to get any type of progress. So that's why it is so important to have ADOS people in positions of power, in positions of influence, in positions that can carry a message. And we know that there is a concerted effort for that not to happen. We know there's a concerted effort to give you diet Black, to give you diet, I always say, diet or Black life, right? Black-ish, not really Black, but just a little dash, and then we're gonna call it Black. And so now if you all say, which we are saying with the ADOS movement, that you are Black people that's tied to this land whose ancestors were enslaved here, then then Kamala's not Black, well, Obama's not Black, they don't fit in with it, they don't get anything. No, they don't. And then that would be up to Jamaica. That would be up to Jamaicans to then push from the British to get what's due them, and so on and so forth. But yeah, like just this whole thing with Kamala, whatever, this whole thing with her, the whole thing of her being Obama 2.0, not ever being ADOS, people who are actually African from countries we have connections to, like Akon with his name going on a white man's platform and basically telling Black people to let go of reparations, let go of what's due to you. It's just a slap in the face on every level.
Yeah, I mean, even me from a Pan-African stance, not erasing or eroding that the entire planet owes us. Everybody benefited, Africa included. There's nobody that's on the list. Everybody's too ancestrally, and the transgenerational effects that come down from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next here in the Americas is not indebted to in America specific, in the United States in specific. The plight of Caribbeans and the plight of South America is to their own. There is no conversation from anybody in regards to us other than us. That puts in so like in Africa, and really, get past all of this stuff. There's nobody that has suffered the atrocities as Black people here in the hells of North America like us. Nobody. You can't go to any instance. South America has its own history in regards to that, and so does the Caribbean. Think about all of these all together and really put them, and we can't be fooled. If we're talking about this from this perspective, we have to definitely look at it for what it is and not for what it appears to be. So I think the last thing I wanted to touch on real quick was these movie situations, because they teach through movies also. The villain in these movies that's supposed to be about us and about our heroes and sheroes create another in the situation. So whether you're talking about Black Panther, whether you're talking about this movie Harriet that came out, in this movie that's coming up, that's supposed to be about the life of Fred Hampton Sr., and you can't leave out Black Klansmen either, because all of these things relate to, this push for this type of identity to kind of take us out of the fold in the mind of ourselves, and to allow our heroes and sheroes to be replaced by people who have no connection to our experience in America too. I think it's been an artful job that's there, and the only time that we show up is we show up on the silver screen as an enemy. If you look at the Harriet Tubman movie, the black man from America was the black man from America was the enemy. You see what I'm saying? So to really look at who's selected to take on these roles and all of that, when these things plague your psyche. These are things that don't go away. To hear your thoughts in regards to your particular perspective on showing us ADOS in these particular roles as enemies, to our plight, to our struggle, and to our rise.
Oh man, it is a absolute 100% concerted effort to take the sting out of it, if you will, by not using ADOS people to play ADOS roles and characters. There's a certain level of connection people have when it's really in you like that. So Black women who grew up ADOS, who grew up in this country, who grew up under these circumstances here, for ADOS woman to then play, and let me be clear, well, okay, I'll just say this. I was gonna say something else, but ADOS woman who grew up here in this country, came from lineage here in this country that was enslaved, and then to play Harriet Tubman, that's on a whole other level. That's on a whole other level of understanding, of connection, of how that will resonate with us. But to then take a woman who's from the UK, who does not have that same history, who did not have that same experience growing up here in America, and her mama and her daddy came from here, and her grandparents and great grandparents came from here in America, and what that means. To have a woman like that then be put in a position to play one of our greatest icons, Harriet Tubman, no wonder why, of course, it feels like the movie was horrible. It was awful. And it did not connect to Black people. It was not significant for us as a community because it gave some other type of story. It added in elements that were not there. You had, whether it was kind of like a somewhat insinuation of lesbianism, to them adding in a black man who was a slave catcher, who didn't exist, who was allowed to have a gun, and then he was the villain. You know, I mean, from all of these elements being added, it's done to keep us at a certain level. And you know, you look at Black Panther, you know, and Killmonger had to be the enemy, you know, which to me is the opposite. But he had to be the enemy, the black man from America. He's the enemy, right? You had Queen and Slim. You had a story supposedly, which I thought supposedly was intended to be representative of ADOS Black folk, a black man and black woman. The optics of it was wonderful. It was beautiful seeing two Black people, easily identifiably Black people, not biracial or mixed, representing Black people, but two very, very richly melanated Black man and Black woman together, and how everything went down or whatnot. But then again, it's still gonna only go but so far and connect but so far, because the people playing it, these people are from the UK. These people don't have that same, it's not in them like that. As they say, it's not on you, it's not in them like that. It's just on them because they're playing a role. And, you know, that's what acting is. You know, people say, oh, well, this person plays this or this person plays that. But in terms of the types of stories that are being told and the importance of some of these types of stories, we need them to be really connected to us. We need them to really resonate with us in the right way. And that does not happen when you use a lot of these other, you know, UK actors and actresses or whatnot. They just don't, they're not qualified. That woman was not qualified to play Harriet Tubman. She was not qualified for that. You had old girl who played Nina Simone, Zoe Saldana. She was not qualified. She's not ADOS. You know, these people are unqualified. So there is absolutely a concerted effort. This is done on purpose. And I think that, you know, I'm not the biggest person on movies, but imagery is important. Imagery has an impact. It does have a relevance. And like you said, we are a visual people. And Black folk are kind of like, we got to see it to believe it. So when we're seeing something that does not even represent us in any way, we can't believe that. We can't buy into that. Now, I will say that I thought that The Black Klansman, I thought it was a pretty decent movie. I thought it was, at least, you know, he is ADOS, you know, Denzel Washington's son, who played the role, but then they had to put the mixed girl in there. You know, they have to always offset something. They have to always add in something else and change some type of dynamic, no matter what. It can't be through and through to the core, ADOS, hard hitting, this is what it is. It's always got to be something else. And that's, you know, that's just the reality of movies coming from Hollywood or Hollyweird or whatever. They're never going to give it to you straight, no chaser. That will never get greenlit. That will never be allowed to exist in that way. So, yeah, these films have been absolutely destructive, have been absolutely disrespectful. I started to watch, and I said the trailer for the Fred Hampton film, slap in the face. Slap in the face. Absolutely spit in the face. of another one of our greatest icons. One of our greatest icons. And then you got this dude from the UK. And I don't think dude's a bad actor. I think he's a good actor for what it's worth. He played well in Get Out again, playing a character who you think to be ADOS. And then the ADOS guy in that movie had to be like the comic relief. But yeah, so all of these little biopics and these types of films, and every time they put somebody else in it that's not ADOS, that's not from here, that does not resonate with the culture, does not have the roots, and it's done on purpose. And let me just say this. Africans, here's the thing, and again, I come from a Pan-Africanist mindset, but I can still also, I can critique other things. I can see other things outside of the scope of that to say, okay, well, yeah, you have a Black person. Well, you're Pan-Africanist, right? So all Black people, yeah. But when you have this happen continuously and it's a pattern, that is like that, that's being done for a reason. And it has always been that white people they have a preference for Black people in terms of being African or being from the UK, okay, or being from the Caribbean, okay. They are given more credibility. They are given more, quote, respect, if you will. They are given more preference than the plain old Negro, the plain old Black person from here. They always have a much higher comfort level with Africans. They just do. White people, oh, listen, they will go. That's why you're still able to see so many, Nigerians and things like that being able to come here, because there is a certain comfort level they have with non-American Blacks. And so, even when it comes to movies that's supposed to represent us, we still at the bottom of the barrel. We still not being chosen. So yeah, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
I just wanted to, hit on them areas because these were, hot buttons, and we didn't get to chop it in a minute. It's very, very, very important to be looking at things with a critical eye and being very critical that doesn't come from us, that is brought to us and given to us. I think the last thing I wanted to ask you before we go, this whole fanfare, like wading through that, like how do you feel as a Black woman with this fanfare from Black women that's like, we're making history and all of these things? They use these buzzwords, we use they use these buzzwords to try to seek to have an interconnectedness in regards to people who hate us. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, what is that? In connection to Kamala Harris, who, her name is Kamala Harris, and we know the dude that was the wrestler, Kamala, his name is James Harris, who just recently, a week ago. I think this is a little funny in regards to the whole political situation. Looking like wrestling and how wrestling have you cheering for. Then they turn them bad, then they turn them good. You look at the whole Trump situation and all of that. You kind of look at wrestling, and then with the advent of somebody like Kanye, or, all of these clowns that come around, and from these particular places. What's your thoughts, as a sister kind of navigating through all of this, and some of our sisters, kind of flock to some of these things?
Yeah. great question. But yeah, I think that Black women have become very comfortable, or I'm not going to say comfortable, but Black women have become accepting. That's a better word. Black women have become very accepting of the erasure of Black women. And what I mean by that, and when I say Black woman, I'm defining that as having two Black parents, having a Black mother and father. We have kind of just accepted the erasure of Black women in place of biracial women in certain respects. I mean, even in terms of, we've been talking about entertainment for a long time. You had, like, what, in the 90s, late 90s or whatnot, mid to late 90s, you had Halle Berry as the standard of Black beauty. And that was kind of accepted, you know, not just by Black men or Black women, that was just kind of accepted in general. A lot of Black women accepted Halle Berry as a standard of Black beauty. You know what I'm saying? Her short haircut was highly coveted and things like that. And so Black women in general have kind of accepted in certain ways, especially, and let me say this for sure, especially older Black women. Let me say that, especially older Black women have kind of accepted, I would definitely say 40 and up, which makes up a large block of the voting block. A lot of it is Black women, especially Black women of a certain age group. And I think that a lot of those Black women have been accustomed to biracial women being used as representative of Black women. So therefore, it's kind of it's kind of a known thing. It kind of is what it is. And so a lot of them will then just qualify her as Black and be willing to accept that, but also not understanding and seeing that helps promote the erasure of Black women. Black women of two Black parents, easily identifiably Black women, not women where you're questioning, well, what race is she, or she's racially ambiguous, or she could be Arab, she could be Hispanic, she could be, you know, a damn Polynesian, she could be anything. No, women that you see, you know that's a sister. Like I mentioned earlier, Michelle Obama. You look and you see that's a Black woman. You're not curious to if she's some other race or not. You know who she is. So Black women have, of a certain age group, especially and particularly, have accepted that they're not really going to be put out there like that. And so therefore, somebody like Kamala, somebody like her, okay, but we're going to get behind her. She's a Black woman. And you know damn well that woman doesn't represent you in that way, because you know she's not a Black woman. You know she really doesn't represent you as a Black woman, but because you think you don't have a shot, no real Black women have a real shot at that, we just gonna ride for her at the end of the day. And the community's been on the one drop rule forever. So we just gonna ride with her and say she's a Black woman, and it's gonna be about sisterhood. So to me, that's what it really is. I think some of the younger Black women are now starting to be a little bit more like, hey, you know, no, that's a biracial woman. She's not a Black woman. No, she's not. But a little bit older age group, yeah, their whole life they've kind of existed in that, well, this mixed woman, she's being propped up. She's the standard of beauty. You know, this is who to aspire to. This woman's on a pedestal. She's mixed, but we're going to say she's Black. They're just used to it. They're used to it. So they're going to get behind her with that whole sisterhood thing and not realize that it's really a slap in their face. It's really a slap in their face. And I don't see that, you know, again, mentioning Michelle Obama, I don't see that Michelle Obama would have ever been a candidate for vice president. She's a Black woman. She's actually Black. And that was not going, she's actually ADOS. That's not going to fly. So when I see Black women, you know, getting behind her, rallying around her, supporting her, you know, going in on people on social media. I was seeing posts, some posts on Facebook from Black women like, yeah, people mad because there's a Black woman up there. Are you serious right now? I mean, it is a sad case. It's a sad state of affairs to me, that Black women feel that they have to settle to make a mixed woman be Black. And instead of just saying she's a biracial woman. And if you support her, you support her. That's on you, that's up to you. But to try to qualify her as Black is the problem I have. And that's such an issue. Some people feel it's a non-issue, but it is such an issue because much of her credibility that's being given is not based on her record, by the way, because her record is not good with Black folk. Let's keep it a buck. But much of her credibility is being based on the fact that she is quote unquote Black. It's being based on the fact that she is quote unquote a Black woman. That's where a lot of her credibility comes from, or is being placed upon that, versus who she really is, what she's really done, what she's really represented. And I think that Black women, we got to get out of that stuff. We got to get out of that stuff, and again, I'm seeing a little bit younger Black women kind of like, nah, I ain't gonna say she Black. I might support her. I might be, cool with her, whatever, but I ain't gonna say she's Black. Nah, she ain't Black. So that's where that comes from. It's the accepting of the erasure of Black women, and easily identifiably Black women with a Black mama and daddy. It's the accepting of that has happened, especially for a lot of older Black women, and they get out there and vote. They are very much so known to vote. So that's kind of my view on it. And then as far as the wrestling aspect, I think that's a good way to describe politics in general. I mean, because it can go, right now is boo, boo, and then the next, yay, yeah, it is like that. That's kind of how the tables constantly revolve in the political world. One day you're up, the next day you're down, then you're back up, and yeah.
I think the last thing I say, and then I'll let you have your closing remarks. First, I want to thank you, for taking time. I know there's a lot going on, and you be doing a lot. This analogy with our people, we talked about it before, that dates, kind of syndrome, the Adam Sandler movie with, the next day, it's like you have to start from scratch all over, again, with our people, no matter how many, these things happen, no matter how far you go back and look at it, all these examples you give, historical, scientific, whatever means you have to go through to get the point across. The next day is like nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you could leave the video, you could do whatever, you could spread it around, all of that. The next day, when our people wake up, they're going to forget everything they had before. How do you stay motivated through the disheartening times, and the feel like you bang your head against the wall, and you thinking nobody's getting what you're saying, you see what I'm saying, and there's so many other things that you could be doing. It is yourself to this particular liberation struggle. How do you get through those things, and how you remain steadfast in that journey?
And that's a great question. Excellent question. It's hard sometimes, and I know you can totally understand. We had conversations on that 51st dates type of mentality that a lot of Black folk have, that they have to constantly be reminded. Like from day to day, hour to hour. It's like, what? Like, you constantly have, well, this happened, that happened, that happened. Oh, well, yeah, and it's like, what? You don't get it. But it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. But I think for me, I'm just somebody who, I'm very stubborn. in a lot of ways. And I think that can, and any trait, honestly, can be good and bad. So stubborn doesn't have to necessarily always be in a bad respect. That can also be in terms of being really committed. You know, you can say that's committed, being really committed to a cause, being really committed to you know, what you stand on and your ideology and your worldview. That you know is right, that you've done the study on, that you have the understanding of. And so in that respect, I would say that's part of my stubbornness. You know, part of me being stubborn is really being committed to my Blackness and to my people. And, you know, always, you know, my thing is kind of like, if people really stand on being pro-Black, being for the people, if you will, and then something happens and they're like, I'm done with that. To me, you was never really for that, because it's just who you are. You know what I'm saying? At this point, this is just who I am. So even if I have the frustration that comes with, like you said, feel like you beating your head against the wall, feel like you talking to brick walls, feel like people don't get it, people don't want to get it, feel like people have so much cognitive dissonance. Even within all that, this is still who I am. And that's why a lot of people who have kept up with me over the years and who have, you know me or kind of follow me somewhat over the years, that's one thing people can always say is you're consistent, because I really stand on this. So you can go back and listen to me years ago and see that I never wavered. I never said, I'm giving up on Black people. I never said, man, F Black people, F that quote unquote pro-Black stuff and all that. I never was on that. You know, even with attacks against me, you know, like I said, talking to brick walls, having all of these other things like that. It's just who I am. It's who I am. And I love Black people. I want the best for my people. And it, you know, I also have an understanding of the psychology of it. And that's one of the reasons, you know, I always talk about Dr. Amos Wilson and why I love and respect him and what he did so much was because he dealt with the psychology of it. And the psychological standpoint is something we don't delve into on a deeper level enough. So to me, I kind of have that understanding of you know, from point A, that psychologically a lot of Black people may not get it because we're already socialized, educated in this system to not understand these types of things. And I also try to understand people may not be where I'm at, and then I'm not where other people are at. So it's a process. As a Black person, it's like you have to unlearn. You got to unlearn first in order to try to get somewhere with it. So I try to keep that in mind and try to have a certain level of patience in a way. But yeah, it's who I am. So the frustration exists. But at this point, it is what it is. It is what it is.
I think Psycho
really?
wanted to make sure that you seen that right there. Okay?
I see it on the screen. Okay. Oh man.
So in 2 weeks.
I admitted it, but yeah.
So in 2 weeks, I got 5 years of Do the Knowledge Radio, and you've been around since day one. I don't know how many episodes no more. At least 1,600 episodes and counting. You know, 1,600 episodes in 5 years on this grind. You know, real new to these YouTube streets. You know, y'all. these spots is unforgiving. You know, I don't really know navigate. And Blog Talk was one thing, but YouTube is another one, and I'm learning. You know,
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for your contributions and remaining steadfast with me throughout this journey because it's definitely been one. We done been through a whole bunch of stuff together. And I can't thank you enough. It don't make no sense to do it privately when I could do it publicly. You see what I'm saying? So, uh, if you look at this background, you look at this T-shirt, you look at everything that's going on. You see what I'm saying? Renee Black Graphics and Sister Renee been a thriving force in the elevation, in the crafting and shaping and molding of this, particular platform. From the intro y'all saw, if y'all were here at the beginning, to everything that's been involved. So I definitely want to thank you for your contributions and the collabs and everything over the years. To making this a platform of esteem where African people, Black people are celebrated and honored. So, uh, final remarks for you. Social media, your business. You know what I'm saying? Everything that you got going on.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to say congratulations on that. I definitely remember your first show. I remember your first show. And yeah, you've been holding it down. You have been holding it down. You have been nothing but consistent. You have been nothing but true to Black people and staying focused on the issues, not focused on nonsense, drama. You get ultimate respect for that. You have helped me so much. You have helped me build my platform. You have helped me build my business. You have helped me to do so much. You've given me the opportunity to improve my skills, something I'm constantly trying to do. You've given me the opportunity to showcase my work, and I'm very thankful, very grateful to you for that. And congratulations, 5 more years and 5 more after that, and so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, thank you for having me on and letting me come and talk. I definitely will come back so we can build on some more things. But if people who may be unfamiliar, you can check me out I have a partner named Psycho. We do a show together. We try to do at least once a week now, but it's a huge archive of tons of shows we've done over the years. And that's at Psychopathiest, SYKOPATHIEST. You can just look that up on YouTube and you will see the channel, the live channel and the other main channel. Both of them have content, but most content is on the live channel. I still have some shows up that were really, really good shows on my blog talk, and that is The Rundown with Renee. You can search that just on Google, put in The Rundown with Renee, and it'll come up, or look it up on Blog Talk Radio. So it's a lot of good shows on there. Other than that, if you are interested in, any graphics like logos or, social media, things you need to put up on social media, flyers, if you're looking for t-shirt designs or anything like that, you can definitely holler at me. You can find me on Facebook under Renee Black Graphics. Just type that in. You can type that in Google or on Facebook either and find me that way. But yeah, other than that, I'm just, trying to do my thing or whatnot. But yeah, thank you so much, Knowledge. I appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody who listened, who will listen. And peace and Black power.
All right, family. Thank you again so much for your time and for your jewels. Make sure y'all share this share this video and go amazing job over there. They've been hard pressed doing anything for some years. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for the game night again. You understand what I'm saying? One more time. I'm always gonna shout it out if I give both of y'all ear at the same time. Game night is the truth. Game night is the truth. So yeah, and I'm looking for this best
No.
of. Wait, shit. I have to run down with Renee.
I know I miss game
All right,
night.
y'all.
I miss
Right. So we out of here, y'all.
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them that. Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. Yeah. Now we gonna tell them that in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? So no more. This man's mind is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get
And
back
that
to the
motive
gritty
is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.
Knowledge bomb. What's the science, baby?